The door slammed so hard the framed wedding photo rattled on the wall, and Evelyn Carter staggered backward, her bare feet slipping against the marble floor as Nathan's voice cut through the penthouse like broken glass. "Get out," he shouted, his face twisted with fury and disgust. "I don't want you here anymore. Pack your things and leave. Tonight." Evelyn clutched her stomach instinctively, as if her body hadn't already betrayed her hours earlier in the cold white hospital room. Her voice came out thin and shaking. "Nathan. I just lost our baby. Can we please not do this now?" Nathan didn't soften. He didn't even look at her. He grabbed his phone, pacing like a caged animal. "I can't deal with this," he snapped. "I have investors calling, a board meeting in the morning, and you're falling apart over something that didn't even survive. I need stability. Not this." Evelyn's knees buckled, and she caught herself on the edge of the couch. That was the moment her life cracked in two. But before this story goes any further, if you believe no woman deserves to be discarded at her weakest moment, don't just listen silently. Subscribe to this channel, because stories like this remind us why respect, loyalty, and humanity still matter. Now, let's go back to the night everything truly began. Just hours earlier, Evelyn had been lying in a hospital bed, staring at the ceiling as the doctor spoke words she would never forget. "I'm so sorry. There's no heartbeat." The room had felt too small, the air too thin. Nathan had been there, standing near the window, arms crossed, eyes glued to his phone. When the doctor left, Evelyn turned toward him, tears streaming down her face. "Nathan, we lost the baby." He sighed, long and annoyed, like someone who had just heard an inconvenience. "I know," he said. "I heard the doctor." She reached for his hand. He pulled it away. "I don't have time for this right now," he muttered. "Do you know how bad this looks? Stress like this, drama like this, it's exactly why I told you to take it easy." Her heart shattered quietly. "You think this is my fault?" she whispered. Nathan didn't answer. He was already typing an email. By the time she was discharged, still weak and numb, he had already made his decision. The penthouse that once felt like home now felt like a courtroom where the verdict had been delivered without her ever being allowed to speak. His mother, Margaret Carter, arrived not long after, heels clicking sharply against the floor as she looked Evelyn up and down with thinly veiled contempt. "Well," Margaret said coldly, folding her arms, "I suppose this settles it. A woman who can't even hold on to a pregnancy has no place beside a man like my son." Evelyn's lips trembled. "Margaret, please." "No," Margaret interrupted. "I warned Nathan about you from the beginning. Too quiet. Too emotional. No pedigree. Now look at this mess." Nathan turned to Evelyn, his eyes hard. "My lawyer will handle the rest. You'll get a small settlement. Enough to start over somewhere modest. But this marriage is over." "And the baby?" Evelyn asked, her voice breaking. "The baby we planned for years." "There is no baby," Nathan said flatly. "And there is no we anymore." She packed what she could into one suitcase while they watched her like strangers. No hug. No apology. When she stepped into the hallway, Nathan closed the door behind her without looking back. For weeks after that night, Evelyn existed in a fog of grief and disbelief. She moved into a small guest room at a friend's apartment, replaying every moment of her marriage in her mind, wondering how love could turn so cruel so quickly. She remembered the early days, when Nathan had been ambitious but kind, when he would bring her coffee in bed and talk excitedly about building something meaningful together. Somewhere along the way, success had hollowed him out. What she didn't know, what Nathan never bothered to learn, was that Evelyn had secrets of her own. Not secrets she hid out of deceit, but ones buried so deep in pain she rarely thought about them. 3 days after she was kicked out, Evelyn received a call that would change everything. The number was unfamiliar. "Ms. Evelyn Carter," a calm male voice asked. Yes, she replied cautiously. My name is Jonathan Hale. I'm calling from Hale and Whitmore Legal Associates. I'm very sorry for your loss. This call concerns your grandfather, William Osei. Evelyn's breath caught. My grandfather, she whispered. He died years ago. Jonathan paused. Your maternal grandfather passed away last week. According to his estate documents, you are the sole beneficiary of his trust. Her heart pounded. That's impossible. I barely knew him. He cut ties with my mother decades ago. Yes, Jonathan said gently. And that is why the trust was sealed. It was structured to activate only after a significant life-altering event. The conditions have now been met. Evelyn sank onto the bed. What does that mean? It means, Jonathan said, that you are now the owner of assets preliminarily valued at just over $300 billion, with additional holdings still being assessed. The room spun. You said, billion? Yes, Ms. Carter. Your grandfather was a private investor with interests in energy, technology, real estate, and international banking. His wealth was deliberately kept out of the public eye. Evelyn hung up the phone in shock, her hands shaking. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just sat there, staring at the wall, as a strange calm washed over her. For the first time since the hospital, her pain didn't feel like the end of her story. It felt like the beginning of something dangerous and powerful. Nathan, meanwhile, was already moving on. Within days, gossip blogs were flooded with photos of him at high-profile events with a new woman on his arm. Her name was Serena Vale, young, glamorous, loud in all the ways Evelyn had never been. At a charity gala, Nathan laughed loudly as cameras flashed. Life goes on, he told a reporter smugly. Sometimes you have to make hard choices to protect your future. Evelyn saw the headline on her phone and felt something shift inside her. Not rage. Not jealousy. Resolve. She met with lawyers, advisors, and financial analysts in quiet boardrooms where her name commanded instant respect. They laid everything out for her, companies her grandfather owned outright, stakes in corporations that quietly controlled entire markets, and, most interestingly, a significant share in Carter Innovations, the tech empire Nathan had built his identity around. Evelyn leaned back in her chair, her voice steady. How much control does this give me? One of the lawyers adjusted his glasses. With strategic acquisitions, you could become the majority shareholder within days. A slow, cold smile touched Evelyn's lips. Then let's proceed. While Nathan toasted champagne with Serena in their penthouse, celebrating a new product launch, contracts were being signed behind the scenes. Shares were bought. Votes were secured. Power shifted silently, invisibly. Nathan felt untouchable. He had no idea the woman he discarded at her lowest was now standing directly above him, holding the strings to everything he thought he owned. And very soon, he was going to find out exactly what it felt like to lose everything in one room, in front of everyone who once applauded him. The summons came on a Tuesday morning, delivered with the kind of urgency that made Nathan's stomach tighten. His assistant stood in the doorway of his glass office, her voice careful. Mr. Carter, the board has called an emergency meeting. They want all senior executives present. Immediately. Nathan frowned. What's this about? They didn't say, she replied. Only that it's important. He straightened his tie, irritation flaring. Emergency meetings were never scheduled without warning unless something had gone wrong. As he walked down the hallway, his phone buzzed. Serena's name flashed on the screen. Babe, she said the moment he answered, don't forget we're meeting the magazine editor tonight. And I need that black card. The limit keeps acting weird. I'm busy, Nathan snapped. I'll deal with it later. She scoffed. You always say that. Nathan hung up, annoyed, unaware that the card had already been quietly frozen. The boardroom doors were closed when he arrived. That alone was unusual. He pushed them open and froze. Every seat was filled. The senior partners. The legal team. Two men he didn't recognize, dressed impeccably, their expressions unreadable. At the head of the table sat a woman in a tailored charcoal suit, her posture straight, her presence commanding. It took him a second to recognize her. Evelyn, he breathed. She lifted her eyes slowly, calmly, and met his gaze. Good morning, Nathan. Please, take a seat. We're already behind schedule. The room went silent. Nathan laughed nervously, looking around for confirmation that this was some kind of joke. What is this? Why is she here? One of the senior partners cleared his throat. Nathan, Miss Carter is chairing this meeting. Nathan's smile faltered. That's not funny. Evelyn folded her hands on the table. It's not meant to be. He turned to the partner beside him. Explain. Now. The partner avoided his eyes. Over the past week, Carter Innovations underwent a significant ownership restructuring. The majority shareholder has exercised their right to assume executive control. Nathan looked back at Evelyn, his face draining of color. You. Yes, she said simply. That's impossible, he snapped. You don't have that kind of money. Evelyn tilted her head slightly. You never asked. His voice rose. This is some kind of manipulation. You're doing this to get back at me. I'm doing this, Evelyn replied evenly, because I own 58% of this company. The words hit him like a physical blow. You're lying. One of the unfamiliar men slid a folder across the table toward Nathan. These are the acquisition records, Mr. Carter. Verified. Legal. Final. Nathan flipped through the pages, his hands trembling. No, this can't be happening. Evelyn watched him without satisfaction, without cruelty. Just clarity. You once told me you needed stability, she said quietly. I've come to provide it. He shot to his feet. You can't do this to me. I built this company. And I bought it, Evelyn replied. That's how business works. You taught me that. Nathan's voice cracked. Why are you here? To humiliate me? I'm here, she said, to conclude unfinished business. She nodded to one of the lawyers, who stood. Mr. Nathan Carter, during our review, we uncovered multiple violations of company policy, including misuse of funds, breach of fiduciary duty, and conduct unbecoming of an executive. Nathan laughed bitterly. This is ridiculous. And, the lawyer continued, evidence of an extramarital affair conducted during your wife's pregnancy, which violates the morality clause of your executive contract. Nathan's eyes snapped back to Evelyn. You wouldn't. I already have, she said softly. He stepped toward her. Evelyn, please. We can talk about this privately. She stood, matching his height, her voice low but firm. You didn't give me privacy when you threw me out. You didn't give me dignity when I lost our child. This conversation is happening exactly where it belongs. The chairman spoke. Effective immediately, Nathan Carter is removed from his position as CEO. All access privileges are revoked. Security appeared at the door. Nathan's chest heaved. You're ruining my life. You did that yourself, Evelyn replied. As he was escorted out, his phone buzzed again. Serena. He answered desperately. Serena, something's wrong. Her voice was sharp. You said you had money. The card declined again. What's going on? I lost my job, he admitted. There was a pause. Then a laugh, cold and mocking. So you're useless now. Serena. Don't call me again, she snapped. I don't date failures. The line went dead. Nathan stood in the lobby with a box of personal belongings, watching executives avoid his eyes. Outside, the city rushed on, indifferent to his collapse. Back upstairs, Evelyn sat alone in the boardroom, the noise fading around her. One of the lawyers approached gently. "Are you all right?" She nodded. "I am." Later that evening, Evelyn stood by the window of her new office, looking out over the skyline. The city lights shimmered, vast and endless. She thought of the woman she had been weeks ago, bleeding, broken, begging for kindness from a man who saw her as disposable. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Nathan, I never meant for it to go this far. I was scared. I made a mistake. Please, let me see you." Evelyn stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed a single reply. "Evelyn, you already did." She blocked the number and set the phone down. Months later, Carter Innovations announced a major rebrand under new leadership. Evelyn sold her controlling interest, walking away with even greater wealth, but she didn't linger in the spotlight. Instead, she funded medical research, supported women recovering from loss, and built a life defined not by revenge, but by peace. Nathan faded from headlines, his name becoming a cautionary tale whispered in boardrooms. Evelyn never spoke publicly about her marriage. She didn't need to. Her silence was louder than any accusation. She had lost everything once. And when the world tried to break her again, it gave her the power to decide who she would become. And she chose herself. If this story moved you, if Evelyn's strength, her pain, and her rise meant something to you, don't let it end here. Tap the subscribe button, like this video, and join a community that believes stories like this deserve to be told. Drop a comment and tell us what part of her journey stayed with you the most, and where you're watching from. Your voice matters more than you know. And this channel grows because of people like you.